The topic I've chose for this presentation is inclusive classroom for students with hearing impairment. I decided to do this presentation to choose a student that I currently have in my 10th grade world history class. The student's name is Owen, and he's a 16-year-old sophomore in a classroom with 24 other students who do not have a hearing impairment disability. Owen has had hearing aids since he was an infant to amplify sounds. Now, Owen's hearing impairment is not severe enough for him to have a cochlear implant, which some other students who have hearing impairments need as an assistive technology. Now, Owen is a smart kid who has been able to stay with his same-aged peers in general education since kindergarten. Owen, however, struggles with intelligible communication, expressing his thoughts, and socializing with others in the classroom. With my inclusive classroom, I will create instruction, activities, and resources to help Owen with possibly some assistive technology to help with the process. Now, my goal for Owen is for him to be able to comprehend and express his knowledge of the course content in my classroom while increasing his social interaction with his peers by using systematic instruction, collaborative activities, differentiated resources, and assistive technology. Now, according to our text, children with hearing impairments range from those with mild impairments to the profoundly deaf. The definition, or IDEA's definition of a hearing impairment, is an impairment in hearing, whether permanent or fluctuating, that adversely affects a child's educational performance but is not included under the definition of deafness. Now, different types of audiometric tests test most children to see their degree of hearing loss. The average score of these tests indicates how seriously the child's hearing is impaired and lets parents and schools know the type of services and resources the child will need. Owen has difficulty with expressing his thoughts, mainly struggling to find the correct word and then saying that word correctly frustrates him. Students who have hearing impairments tend to have lower speech intelligibility, and they make more phonological errors. This can lead to speech delays, which in turn create other communication problems in the future for students with hearing impairments. Now, because Owen has this problem, he shies away from volunteering or sharing his answers. Owen sometimes is hard to understand when he is giving his answers. Luckily, throughout the year, I've come to understand Owen a lot better, as well as his classmates who have had him for multiple years as their classmates. I attribute this understanding to the inclusive classroom environment that I have created for Owen and my other students to learn in. The whole idea of using an inclusive classroom is so that every student, no matter the ability or disability, can learn. One of the most important things teachers can do is to teach in ways that will enhance the language and communication of children in their classroom. Dudley, Marling, and Seal have developed 4 recommendations for teachers to increase their language learning, and it turned out to be part of the foundation of an inclusive classroom. First, the physical setting must promote talk. If you can in your classroom, provide areas in the classroom that are meant for student interaction, like having tables instead of desks, group work areas, and if possible, learning centers. Second, the teacher must provide opportunities for children to interact and use content language as they learn. This allows students to interact and apply content into the communication process. Third, the teacher needs to provide opportunities for children to use language for a variety of purposes and for a variety of audiences. Having students sharing and working together with their peers and being able to explain their knowledge to the teacher as well is essential for the communication learning. Fourth, the teacher needs to respond to student talk in ways that encourages continued talk in the future. Teachers always need to encourage student learning and collaboration. In my inclusive classroom, I'm going to use different types of assistive technology and incorporate different lessons to give Owen the opportunity to communicate with his peers, share his knowledge out loud, and build his speech intelligibility. Things that I will use is instruction activities and resources, communicate with peers, share knowledge out loud, build his speech intelligibility, and use differentiated materials, which gives him more options to be assessed on, whether formatively or summatively. The assistive technology that I will use and ones that I'm currently using. Induction loop. This creates this electromagnetic field in the classroom where the student can tune in on their hearing aids to the microphone that the teacher has. The FN system is one that we are currently using with Owen. It's this wireless connection between hearing aids and the microphone. Owen is also able to use his Apple MacBook, which allows him to use audio text, visual phonics, note-taking systems, and recordings. Some of the evidence-based research that has to do with inclusive classrooms with students with hearing impairments. One, that was a qualitative study from Cameroon in Africa. Elementary age students with hearing impairments being taught in an inclusive classroom. The results, students with hearing impairments did significantly better in the categories of content learning, vocabulary learning, and peer communication than the hearing impaired students in a traditional classroom. According to this literature review of many students, or a literature review of many documents that talked about students in inclusive classrooms and social interactions between the peers, the conclusion of this literary review is that inclusive classrooms yield much higher rates of student interaction with peers than traditional educational classrooms. A study of schools that use inclusive classrooms with students with literacy difficulties because of their hearing impairment disability. The authors found that these schools helped the students who are hearing impaired develop their literacy skills. It made content and thinking visible and optimized the access to the language and thoughts of all the readers and learners. The people in this article interviewed 3 18 to 21-year-olds who have a hearing impairment and their experiences. They want to know their experiences growing up in an inclusive classroom and their traditional classrooms. 4 takeaways from this. Inclusion classrooms made them feel normal and focused on their abilities, not their disabilities. It helped them relate to their peers. It gave them a sense of competence during academic and social components of learning. And then finally, it increased their feelings of autonomy and independence during their educational endeavors. With the Turner article, it's a study using children's books for elementary age students with hearing impairments to improve the children's language and speech abilities. The books, the characters in these stories all had some type of impairment that they had to conquer. The results of this is that students learn lessons like their potential, inclusion, and language speech progression. So in conclusion, my goal for Owen would be for him to be able to comprehend and express his knowledge of the course content in my classroom while increasing his social interaction with his peers. I believe with using an inclusive classroom, I will be able to help Owen reach this goal. The inclusive classroom will create an environment of opportunities for Owen, safe from judgment, a lot of peer collaboration, and resources to assist him further developing his communication. And here are some of my sources. Thank you.